In the cemetery in the middle of my town. If you look hard enough through the fog, you'll see him. No one knows what he really is, and no one will get close enough to ask. But you'll see there's a jester-esque creature, prancing around the graveyard, twirling his cane and dancing along the tombstones. It's a curious sequence that some may not even call a dance at all, but there really isn't another word for it. The freshly buried seem to call out to him. He likes the newly dead the best, almost as though he's celebrating their arrival to his domain. He twirls and twists, tips his hat and waltzes about, his thin limbs and fat body moving with the fluidity of the wind around him. The fog swirls and loops around him, seemingly dancing with him. Nobody knows what happens when you see him. Nobody's ever allowed it to happen. But whatever happens can't be good. The sheer malevolence that surrounds him keeps the curious at bay. We just watch. Perhaps he entertains them. His dance brings joy to the past masses. Nobody knows for sure. He tips up his nose and veiled eyes. His tattered and worn clothing, down to the comical buckles of his shoes, will likely forever remain a mystery. But on a foggy night, if you look close enough through the fog, you'll see the grave dancer, waltzing his way, row by row, to dance for the dead. I woke up surrounded by the most brilliant blues I had ever seen. What was the last thing I remembered? I don't know. I began walking. I feel like I've been walking forever. My feet burn, and there's so many cuts from the sharp rocks, among other things. Colors as brilliant as the blue all around fly by me. The place is beautiful, however strange. There are beasts the size of yachts here, and bigger still. They're hard to avoid. Gravity isn't the same here, and I think I'm alone. I haven't seen anyone else. Is this heaven? Hell? Should I stop? Rest? I don't feel the need for rest. I'm not tired, but I guess that's the difference between tired and exhausted, isn't it? You can never truly differentiate until it comes right down to it. For a while, I couldn't tell if it was day or night, if there was such a thing here. But when the brilliant blue began to fade gradually to pitch black, I knew then. I took some comfort in knowing that, at least. It was then that I had no choice but to sit and rest against a large rock. I couldn't see a thing, not even my hand in front of my face. There are no lights here at night, but the predators of this place do come out then. I can hear them. But it's a strange sound. Is there anything nearby? A city, a town, a village? Anything with lights would be nice. There aren't even stars here. No street lights, not even a moon. I've seen things here that I never thought existed anywhere. Such beautiful things. I found myself wondering more and more if I'm dead. For these things I've never experienced in life. There's such a unique tranquility and yet such danger. It's impossible for the human mind to take in. I found myself crying at the unequaled beauty and at the horrifying dangers alike. A pallid soil beneath my feet is kicked up in puffs around me, falling back to its right place in a rain of sparkly beauty. There's a slight subtle glow in the distance. I hope to find civilization there, but it may just be another trick of the predators lurking about. I have to be careful. I must proceed cautiously. The tendrils of some unknown plant curl around my ankles, tickling me as I walk along. I thought to myself about many things, but my conclusions were that I must be dead. But how did I die? Perhaps when we die, we can't remember a life before this. It took a great long while to reach the glow, and as I'd suspected, it was a trick of another predator, luring the weary to their doom? Could there be a doom after death? It was something I pondered for a good long while. That was, in fact, about all there was to do here. aside from admiring the unusual beauty of it all, and the remarkable scenery danced and weaved its way around in a symphony of ethereal grace that could never be seen in one's existence on Earth. But after a time, I decided that yes, I am dead. And I came to this conclusion through one simple revelation that struck me like lightning. I shouldn't be able to breathe underwater. The Millers were a sweet old couple on the outskirts of Newport, Washington. They died in the late 80s, and everybody's memories of them fond and always spoken of in half smiles. It wasn't until the early 90s, when the farm was sold to a fellow from Wisconsin, that the truth about the Millers family finally came out. You see, around the early 70s, children started going missing in and around Newport. Most folks thought it was the swamp. Figured it just swallowed them up. We dragged that damn little thing for ages. Not a single body turned up. We were as confused as a tailless dog. Hell, most of the cases were closed, dead cold by the 80s, excuse the pun. But the kids just kept going missing. A good 1 or 2 years. While me and the rest of the sheriff's department stood around scratching our heads, the rest of our town was fixing a torch and pitchfork party. Reckon they didn't understand we'd done all that we could. We were just fresh out of leads. And one night, a fella from Wisconsin comes running like a bat out of hell towards town, acting nuttier than a box of squirrel turds, screaming all up and down Main Street about ghosts. Well, of course, we had to lock him up for the rest of the night, let him sleep it off. Boy, it was 3 sheets and not a breeze blowing. "They're singing! They're coming from the well!" He'd just keep shouting from the cell, hollering at anyone who would listen. Well, about the 4th time he'd done this, me and some of the boys decided to stake out the damn well for the night, just to shut him up. Hell, I'm pushing 70 and I've got 8 grandkids. Too old and tired for this kind of horse shit, but we decided to indulge him. Finally put the matter to rest. I'd fallen asleep about midnight. Can't say for sure how long I was out, but I got a little tap on the shoulder from one of my boys. His eyes were wider than Texas. When I asked him rather gruffly what the hell he wanted, he just put a nicotine-stained finger up to his lips and pointed at the well. And sure enough, singing. Sounded like the voice of a little girl singing a nursery rhyme. Looking down, the damn thing was as black as a coal miner's asshole, so we yelled, "Anybody down there?" We got no answer. Just the singing. Damnedest thing. Little Tyke sounded just precious. But without a response from her, we had to go down. God damn. So we got us some rope, hitched it to the big tree that was once my napping shade, tied the other end around my waist, and down the hole I went. A few of the boys followed, and a few stayed upstairs where they could just yank us back out. Naturally, singing was louder now, and we were all wiping all sorts of mess from ourselves. I got out the trusty old flashlight to see where anyone was. All I could see was a pink skirt disappearing around a corner. At the well, as it turns out, wasn't a well. It was a tunnel, leading smack dab to the Miller's sub-basement. Another tunnel to the left. The billow of pink skirt. We heard another little girl singing again. Took about 10 damn minutes just to make our way through the tunnel, following that eerie but lovely song. It reminded me of my granddaughters. And in that moment, I thought of some asshole trying to hurt him. And I put the hitch in my giddy up and we got moving. Well, we finally reached the edge of the line, so to speak, and shining that light of mine around, found the bodies of at least 10 children down there, chained up to the wall. Some to the floor. Some in cages hung from the ceiling. And the remains of a little girl, wearing a pink dress, hung in the corner of the room from her neck. A couple of my boys lost their supper. I guess the smell got to them. And me. I'd never been so sad in all my life as it was that night. Those poor kids. I'll never forget it. If the Millers had still been alive, I'd have strung them up myself right there and then, sick assholes. I retired after that, never looked back. Couldn't keep on after I'd seen what I had there. It's a whole new outlook on me these days. Yeah, I may not have believed in ghosts before. But that little girl singing us through those tunnels that night, she changed all that.